There have been many high-profile celebrities who have warned us about Diddy long before anything came out. Some of these people will shock you, starting with Usher.
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop.
But I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to...
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans,
And your parents
Jodeci,
were
Mary J.
okay?
Blige. They didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
I was having a good time, you know what I mean?
When Usher was still an emerging artist, trying to establish himself within the highly competitive music industry, he spent a transformative year living with Puff. At first glance, many saw this as an extraordinary opportunity for a young artist to learn from one of the most influential moguls in music. But upon closer inspection, what Usher experienced during that year might have been far from the mentor-mentee relationship it seemed. Usher opened up about his time living with Puff in a 2016 interview with Howard Stern. The iconic radio host, known for getting guests to speak candidly, probed Usher about that pivotal time in his life. Usher described the experience as eye-opening, but also cryptically alluded to very curious things taking place in Puff's household. Although he laughed off some of the incidents, Usher seemed hesitant to go into full detail, suggesting that the events were more disturbing than he was willing to publicly admit. Usher mentioned that he didn't understand what he was even looking at, leading many to speculate about what exactly occurred. For someone as talented and successful as Usher, making such a statement is telling and raises concerns about what truly transpired during those early years. One of the most eye-opening revelations came when Usher made it abundantly clear that he wouldn't want his own children to attend Puffy Camp. It was a striking comment because it implied that there was something inherently wrong or questionable about the environment Puff cultivated for young, up-and-coming artists. Puff's parties, which Usher would have been exposed to as a teenager, were notorious for their extravagance and unpredictability. Stories of wild, all-night gatherings with alcohol, drugs, and questionable behavior were common among industry insiders. The relationship between Usher and Puff continued to evolve over the years, with Usher eventually becoming one of the most successful R&B singers of his generation. However, Usher's reticence to go into detail about his year with Puff and his strong warning against allowing his descendants to be exposed to that environment provide a chilling hint at what might have gone on behind the scenes. Even though he remains cordial with Puff in public, Usher's cryptic comments leave room for speculation and suspicion. Justin Bieber.
I think that I was just, living in this shame, living in all this sort of stuff of my past, and I wasn't able to move on. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive for sure. It was dark.
Years after Usher's unsettling experience, his protege, Justin Bieber, found himself in the orbit of Puff. At the height of his teenage fame, Bieber, who was just breaking into superstardom, would find himself spending a whirlwind 48 hours with Puff. This brief but impactful time raised a lot of questions about the nature of Puff's mentorship of young artists. Although neither party has gone into great detail about what happened during those 48 hours, there have been some clues that suggest Bieber might have felt uncomfortable or overwhelmed by the encounter. One of the most notable anecdotes came when Bieber provided Puff with a fake phone number. On the surface, it seemed like a joke, just a young star pulling a prank on an industry giant. However, in hindsight, some speculate that this act might have been a subtle cry for help or an indication that Bieber wanted to maintain his distance from Puff. The fake phone number became a subject of speculation, and for those who have followed Bieber's tumultuous career, it adds another layer of intrigue to his complicated journey through fame and mentorship. Wendy Williams.
You know? No, but I want to tell you the story about that. I met all of them in the same year, so I've known all of them the same amount of time, but we were friends. No, listen. Whoa, why did I do that?
Did you meet all in the same
No, I was
social
just
setting?
trying to say it wasn't like I just was running around, through my career and just, every couple of years just being with a new person. Like
when radio icon Wendy Williams was fired from Hot 97 in 1998. She didn't mince words when it came to who she believed was behind her sudden departure: Puff. In the late 90s, Williams was one of the most influential voices in radio, known for her tell-it-like-it-is approach to celebrity gossip and news. However, her direct and often controversial commentary did not sit well with many powerful figures in the entertainment industry, and she often found herself in the crosshairs of their ire. After her firing, Williams accused Puff of playing a role in the decision to remove her from the airwaves. It's important to note that during this time, Puff was at the height of his power as a music mogul, with his Bad Boy Records label dominating the charts and shaping the culture of hip-hop and R&B. In her 2004 autobiography, Williams wrote that she would never forget the hell that Puff put her through, alluding to his influence and ability to silence those who spoke out against him. Williams's ongoing commentary about Puff continued for years, with notable instances on her daytime talk show. In 2015, while discussing the rumors that Cassie Ventura, Puff's then-girlfriend, was hiding from him, Williams painted a picture of Puff as a controlling figure, suggesting that his power extended beyond the music industry and into his personal relationships. Her portrayal of Puff as a man who is hard to escape from added a new dimension to the public perception of him. During an interview with Jennifer Lopez that same year, Williams asked if she'd ever consider rekindling her romance with Puff. Lopez's mother, Guadalupe Rodriguez, gave a reaction that was impossible to ignore, a disapproving look that spoke louder than any words could. Aubrey O'Day.
I have over 600 license plates screen capped in my phone right now from the past 3 months of just random cars that were parked outside my home that didn't look right. Or I'll make a quick U-turn if I need to get some groceries and like a big car busts a U-turn in a really weird spot.
Aubrey O'Day's experiences with Puff date back to her time on the MTV reality series Making the Band, where she became a member of the girl group Danity Kane. In her early 20s, when she first began working with Puff, O'Day faced intense scrutiny and control over her public image and physical appearance. According to her, Puff was highly critical of her looks, and she was forced to adhere to his specific standards of grooming and beauty. On the Crisis Queen podcast, O'Day described how Puff would make disparaging comments about her appearance on camera while giving her specific instructions behind the scenes on how she needed to change herself. She said that Puff controlled her down to how her toenails were polished, which speaks to the level of micromanagement and psychological control he allegedly exerted over the artists he worked with. O'Day claimed that one day, Puff complimented her by calling her the looker of the band, only to later send her home from the studio for not having her toes properly polished. This kind of behavior, which she described as part of a larger cycle of harm, created an environment where artists were constantly second-guessing themselves and trying to meet impossible standards. She mentioned that with Puff, she saw multiple sides of him, but there was always an element of something else influencing his behavior, suggesting that substance use might have played a role in his erratic and unpredictable conduct. During her time on Making the Band, O'Day was also restricted in who she could befriend or interact with. She mentioned that Puff forbade her from being friends with a high-profile individual whom he was also connected to, marking the first time she witnessed a shift in how he approached her both personally and professionally. In 2008, she was booted from Danity Kane, and although the reason given was her not meeting expectations, O'Day maintains that it was not talent-related, but rather due to other unspecified reasons. O'Day later reflected on her time working with Puff, describing the experience as akin to being groomed. She emphasized that grooming is a process that doesn't happen overnight, but involves breaking down a person's self-esteem and rebuilding them to serve the interests of the groomer. O'Day claimed that Puff allegedly tried to silence her in 2023 by offering to return her publishing rights in exchange for her silence, but she declined the offer, feeling that speaking out was more important than any financial settlement. Cassie Ventura.
So let me ask you, in the movie you have, I guess, you know, some very intimate scenes? Yeah. So I'm wondering about the boyfriend, Diddy.
So yeah, okay. So Terrence was a bit nervous, and I told Puff about it, and he said, have him give me a call. So we FaceTimed, and they had their man talk, and he said, make it believable. You guys, this is like going to be a great movie for you, and he's proud of us at the end of the day.
Cassie Ventura's decade-long relationship with Puff was often framed as a glamorous and enviable romance. However, beneath the surface, there were signs of trouble and emotional turbulence. Cassie and Puff began dating in 2007, and for years they were one of the most high-profile couples in the music industry. However, social media hints and public confrontations revealed that their relationship was far from perfect. In 2015, Cassie posted a now infamous photo on Instagram with the caption, "How I sleep knowing that I'm single and nobody's cheating on me," which led to widespread speculation about the state of their relationship. By the following year, eyewitnesses reported seeing the couple involved in an argument in Beverly Hills, with Puff allegedly taking Cassie's phone and storming off. The tension between the two became more apparent over time, eventually leading to their breakup in 2018. In 2023, Cassie took legal action against Puff, filing a lawsuit that accused him of physical abuse, emotional harm, harassment, discrimination, creating a hostile work environment, and other serious allegations. The lawsuit was eventually settled out of court, which Puff's legal team framed as a denial of guilt and an attempt to avoid further controversy. However, Cassie's decision to pursue legal action and the severity of the allegations raised serious questions about the dynamics of their relationship. Puff's legal team, led by attorney Ben Brafman, characterized the lawsuit as a blatant blackmail attempt and denied the claims. Despite this, the public support for Cassie was overwhelming, with many praising her for speaking out and pursuing justice. In addition to the lawsuit, footage from 2016 surfaced, showing an aggressive interaction between Puff and Cassie that further fueled the narrative of an abusive relationship. Puff later apologized publicly, but continued to deny any wrongdoing, maintaining that the lawsuit was a strategy to tarnish his reputation for financial gain. Jenny Mullen.
I just wanted to tell you guys that one time when I was like 19, I was in San Diego. So this guy's like, my boss wants to meet you. And he's like this big bouncer looking guy. He was like there in like a very like fur coat kind of vibes looking outfit, very small. And he puts out his hand and he shakes my hand. He had the littlest hands I've ever felt. Like not like Laszlo little, not like a 7-year-old, but maybe like a 12-year-old hand. And he's like, we're having a party up in my room. Do you guys want to come? Guys, would I have been on a freak off?
Jenny Mullen, actress and author, revealed a surprising and unsettling story about Puff. According to Mullen, she was once approached and invited to one of Puff's infamous freak-offs, wild after-hours parties known for their unpredictable and scandalous activities. When she was underage, Mullen recalled the encounter in vivid detail, describing how a man approached her while she was in San Diego, casually dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, and said, "My boss wants to meet you." After meeting Puff, Mullen joked about how small his hand was, a seemingly innocuous detail that added a layer of humor to the strange interaction. However, the invitation to join a party in his hotel room was anything but funny to Mullen, who declined and walked away from what could have been a life-changing and potentially dangerous situation. Looking back on the incident, Mullen joked about what could have happened had she accepted the invitation, questioning whether she might have found herself trapped in a compromising situation or captured on camera during one of Puff's freak-offs. Her story, while humorous in hindsight, underscores a troubling aspect of Puff's behavior and his interactions with young women, particularly those who were vulnerable and new to the entertainment industry. Cat Williams.
They be having these big-ass mansion parties, and the mansion party, the whole mansion is a party, and then it's a separate party in the little rooms. Nigga, come here, come here. Is that two niggas kissing?
Comedian Cat Williams, known for his no-holds-barred comedy and candid observations, was one of the first to predict Puff's downfall. In a January 2024 episode of the Club Shay podcast, Williams made a bold claim, stating, "All these deviants catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. Doesn't matter who you is, Pastor T.D. Jakes, any of them." Williams went on to suggest that Puff's controversial behavior and parties would eventually catch up to him, and it appears that prediction was on the mark. Williams claimed to have been invited to several of Puff's infamous parties over the years, but always declined, citing his integrity and personal boundaries. "I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times just to protect my integrity," Williams said, emphasizing the importance of standing by his principles. Williams asserted that he had receipts for all his claims, making it clear that he was speaking from personal experience and not just hearsay. His reluctance to engage with Puff's lifestyle choices and the parties that Puff hosted added credibility to his warnings and provided a glimpse into the type of environment Puff allegedly created. Rodney Jones.
Go ahead, because I run shit here, nigga. I run shit.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Little Rod ain't worth giving this kingdom to if we don't control his publishing. I can solve his efforts with 3 other human beings. He's eating at our table, and I like his backstory, but you need to have other people. It's hard to work with him unless we have his pub.
Rodney Little Rod Jones, a producer who worked on Puff's Love album Off the Grid, took legal action against the mogul in a lawsuit that shed light on the toxic and uncomfortable work environment he allegedly endured. Jones claimed that Puff repeatedly groped him and forced him to participate in unwanted activities that extended far beyond the responsibilities of a producer. According to Jones, he was made to work in the bathroom while Puff showered, a bizarre and inappropriate demand that exemplified the level of control Puff exerted over those around him. In an even more shocking claim, Jones alleged that he once woke up nude in bed next to Puff and 2 professionals after being drugged. Jones's lawsuit also implicated other individuals in Puff's inner circle, including his son, Justin Dior, and Chief of Staff Christina Coram. Coram, in particular, was accused of grooming former bad boy artist Mace, whose long-running feud with Puff over money and the rights to his music has spanned decades. Jones's lawsuit painted a picture of an environment where personal boundaries were disregarded and individuals were subjected to degrading and dehumanizing treatment in the name of business and power.
That's all you seen?
A lot.
Well, that's what I was.
I've seen helicopters, all kind of stuff.
Okay.
Mace, a former bad boy artist, has had a long-standing and contentious relationship with Puff, dating back to their work together in the 1990s. Their feud has spanned decades and has centered on issues of money, publishing rights, and power dynamics within the music industry. In a recent podcast episode, Mace referenced the raids on Puff's home earlier in 2024, alluding to long-awaited reparations for the alleged mistreatment and financial disputes he experienced while signed to Bad Boy Records. Their feud came to a head in 2020 when Mace publicly accused Puff of withholding his publishing rights and making it difficult for him to regain ownership of his music. Although Puff denied these claims, the conflict only escalated over time, and Mace continued to demand what he believed was rightfully his. The tension between the two reached a breaking point in 2023 when Mace finally received the rights to his music, marking a significant victory in a battle that had lasted for over 20 years. 50 Cent, Curtis 50 Cent. Jackson has been one of Puff's most vocal critics, openly speaking out against him in interviews, social media posts, and even diss tracks. Their feud dates back to the mid-2000s, when 50 Cent released a diss track that alleged Puff was connected to the murder of Biggie Smalls. In recent years, 50 Cent has only intensified his criticism, describing Puff's behavior as uncomfortable and openly questioning his interactions with other men.
That's why I don't be going to the Puffy parties. Nigga hug you from the front and the back at the same time. I mean, look, if you into that, I'm fine with it. To each his own. I'm just saying this is my motherfucking kind of party.
During his final LA tour in 2023, 50 Cent joked about Puff's tendency to hug you from the front and the back at the same time, implying overly intimate behavior that made those around him uncomfortable. It was also reported that 50 Cent sold a docu-series to Netflix titled Did He Do It? That aims to explore Puff's alleged misconduct, suggesting that the feud between the two is far from over. Additionally, 50 Cent has accused Puff of having a role in the death of Tupac Shakur, a claim that echoes similar suspicions raised by other figures in the music industry.
Absolutely.
I love Diddy. You know, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy.
He expects.
Is he a good guy?
I don't want to answer that question.
Oh, wow. I think he's a good guy. I'm going to stick up for him.
Donald Trump, perhaps one of the most unexpected figures to voice concerns about Puff, is former President Donald Trump. Known for his candid and often controversial statements, Trump commented on Puff's business practices and lifestyle on multiple occasions. In a 2016 interview, Trump alluded to Puff's extravagant and excessive lifestyle, suggesting that such behavior often leads to trouble. Although Trump's remarks were not explicitly accusatory, they hinted at a deeper unease regarding the way Puff conducted his personal and professional life. As someone who has navigated fame, scandal, and controversy, Trump's remarks about Puff carried a certain weight, leading many to see his words as a veiled warning. Tupac.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Because listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody to kill Pac? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
The late Tupac Shakur was not only a legendary rapper and poet, but also a highly controversial figure whose life was entangled with many of the conflicts that defined the 1990s hip-hop scene. He was outspoken, fiery, and fiercely loyal to those he loved. At the same time, he was a man acutely aware of the forces that were working against him and the dangers lurking around every corner. One of the most significant episodes that defined his last years involved his suspicion of Puff Daddy, Sean Diddy Combs, and the East Coast-West Coast feud that escalated into one of the most infamous conflicts in music history. Tupac's suspicions about Puff were rooted in the infamous 1994 incident at New York's Quad Recording Studios. During a visit to the studio, Tupac was ambushed and shot multiple times in a robbery that left him critically wounded. Though the official narrative suggested it was a simple robbery gone wrong, Tupac didn't see it that way. In the aftermath of the attack, he began to suspect that the situation was orchestrated, not random. The fact that Puff and other members of his Bad Boy Records entourage were at the studio that night raised Tupac's suspicions about their potential involvement or foreknowledge of the attack. A year later, in 1995, Tupac sat down for an interview with Vibe magazine while incarcerated at the Clinton Correctional Facility on a separate charge. When asked whether he thought Puff had any connection to the Quad Studios shooting, Tupac's response was tellingly direct and unapologetically confrontational. "I believe so," he said, adding that it was a matter between him and Puff, and that only Puff knew the real story. This accusation fanned the flames of the East Coast-West Coast rivalry that dominated the rap world, pitting Tupac's Death Row Records against Puff's Bad Boy Records, with both labels representing their respective coasts. While Tupac never provided concrete evidence to back his claims, the bitterness and distrust between him and Puff became a public feud that transcended the music scene, drawing in fans and artists from both sides. In the months that followed, the tension between the two camps continued to rise. Tupac's 1996 album, All Eyes on Me, was filled with confrontational tracks targeting those he saw as enemies, including a scathing diss aimed directly at Puff and Notorious B.I.G. titled Hit 'Em Up. The song accused Puff of betrayal, deceit, and having a hand in the violence that had erupted around Tupac. With Tupac's growing paranoia, mounting tensions, and the media frenzy that fueled the East Coast-West Coast rivalry, the stage was set for a violent climax. On September 7, 1996, Tupac was shot multiple times in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas after attending a Mike Tyson boxing match. He died 6 days later from his injuries. The shocking and sudden loss of Tupac sent ripples across the music world, intensifying the already contentious feud between the coasts. Many speculated about the possible motives behind his murder. Was it gang-related, a continuation of the East Coast-West Coast War, or perhaps something orchestrated by those within the industry itself? To this day, the mystery surrounding Tupac's death remains one of the most talked about unsolved cases in music history. Fast forward to 2023, the arrest of Duane Keefe D. Davis added a new twist to the ongoing speculation. Davis, a known affiliate of the Southside Compton Crips and a self-proclaimed participant in the events leading to Tupac's murder, was charged with the rapper's killing, bringing renewed attention to the decades-old case. But it was Davis's subsequent claims that shook the hip-hop community to its core. Davis alleged that Puff offered him $1 million to orchestrate the murder of Tupac Shakur. According to Davis, the motivation was rooted in the escalating feud and growing animosity between the Bad Boy and Death Row camps, which had culminated in violent exchanges, public diss tracks, and personal threats. Davis's accusations, though sensational, lack definitive evidence and have been met with skepticism from some corners, as well as outright denials from Puff's camp. Puff has vehemently denied any involvement in either the 1994 Quad Studios shooting or Tupac's 1996 murder. Despite this, Davis's claims have reopened old wounds and reignited debates about who was truly behind Tupac's murder. The idea that a financial bounty was placed on Tupac's head adds another layer of conspiracy and intrigue to a case that has haunted fans, investigators, and fellow artists for nearly 3 decades. In the court of public opinion, theories continue to swirl. Some believe that Davis's allegations are an attempt to gain leniency or to stir controversy for personal gain. Others see his statements as a long-awaited piece of the puzzle that might finally bring some closure to the case. What complicates matters further is that the murder of Tupac is inextricably linked to the murder of the notorious B.I.G., who was killed in Los Angeles 6 months after Tupac's death. Theories abound that the two murders are connected, with speculation that Biggie's death was a retaliatory act, a part of the larger feud that claimed both rappers' lives. While there is no definitive proof connecting Puff to Tupac's death, the accusations levied by Davis have intensified the scrutiny on Puff's legacy and his role in one of hip-hop's darkest chapters. These claims, true or not, have forced many to re-examine the events of the 1990s through a modern lens and consider whether justice was ever truly served. The ongoing controversy also underscores the chaotic, violent nature of the music industry at that time, when personal grudges, gang affiliations, and the pursuit of power and influence could have fatal consequences. To this day, fans of Tupac continue to seek answers, holding vigils, sharing theories online, and pushing for new leads in the case. Every new detail, every allegation, and every clue adds another piece to the puzzle of what happened on that fateful night in Las Vegas. Whether the truth will ever fully come to light remains uncertain, but Tupac's suspicion of Puff and the unresolved mysteries surrounding both of their lives serve as a sobering reminder of how art, fame, and conflict can lead to real-world tragedies that have lasting impacts. Throughout his career, Puff has faced accusations and warnings from a wide range of individuals, from former employees and artists to media personalities and even political figures. The stories of control, manipulation, and alleged abuse have accumulated over the years, painting a troubling portrait of a man who, for decades, wielded immense power and influence. While Puff has denied many of the allegations and disputes the accusations against him, the sheer volume and consistency of the stories raise serious questions about the culture he fostered and the impact he had on those who crossed his path. As more and more voices come forward to share their experiences and speak their truth, one thing remains clear: the story of Puff is far from over, and the full scope of his legacy has yet to be fully uncovered. And that's all for today, folks. Stay tuned as we continue to peel back the layers and expose the untold stories behind the glitz, glamour, and controversy of celebrity life. Remember, no matter how deep secrets are buried, the truth will eventually come to light,